Hello everyone, welcome to Court with Krissy. I've got a couple of Karen updates. While Karen and her service dog are wrapping up, the other one, she's now got new charges. So we're beginning again. It's what I consider Court with Krissy job security. If you happen to miss the first videos, links are in the description as well as in the video. I hope you like it. Court with Krissy is now in session.
You want to go break it out?
Yeah,
Yes,
please.
Okay, and where is she?
I think she's going to be just a phone number.
Okay, Ms. Arnold, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great.
It's a little echoey, but I can make out what you're saying, sort of.
Yeah, it's a bigger courtroom and I think it catches an echo. Okay, Mr. Travis, here you go.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Ms. Arnold?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Arnold is appearing via Zoom, via telephone.
Okay, I don't think I see Ms. Arnold on Zoom.
It was at least when I went to break our room, she's just appearing as a telephone number.
Okay, again, I don't see that. Maybe you want to go give her another call and let her know that she's not on her screen. And we're all set. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Mr. Travis, I still don't see Ms. Arnold on the line.
And Your Honor, I don't know if maybe when I left from her, I just closed the meeting and didn't close the breakout room. I'm wondering if
She's in a breakout room.
Oh, is that what it is?
Probably.
because
Okay.
I'm trying to call. She's calling from a landline, so it's not like I can text her to hang up. So I keep just going back to
Okay.
voicemail.
All right, that's the one place I didn't look, so. Ms. Arnold, can you hear me? This is Judge Cooney.
Yes, I can. It echoes a little bit, but I can hear you.
Okay, good morning. Mr. Travis is here in the courtroom. And Mr. Chambers is here from the prosecutor's office on behalf of the people. And this is the date for sentencing on the defendant's conviction of, I believe it's dog bite in count 1.
Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Travis, I've reviewed the police report of the incident, the action in court where your client pled no contest, and victim impact statement. Is there anything else you'd like me to review?
Nothing else to review. I don't know if the court recalls, and I realize it's not really binding, but there was also a recommendation the matter be handled as fines and costs from the prosecutor.
Okay. So let me see. We didn't get that on our disposition, but that's correct, Mr. Chamberlain.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So, and what else would you like me to know, Mr. Travis?
Your Honor, these are dogs are very important to Miss Arnold. The 2 of them are actually service dogs and highly trained. In this incident this day, a couple of factors happened, and the reason I would note that is Miss Arnold actually has a physical fence and an electric fence. Unfortunately, there was a failure of both this day. One of which was a gate was left open. Miss Arnold's not particularly mobile, and we appreciate you allowing her to appear via Zoom because of that. But the dogs do generally have a passive electric fence. After this incident, she figured out, even though the collars were showing green, the batteries were dying enough that they were basically just showing green and not really affecting the dogs. And she since fixed that, gotten new collars and new batteries. So I think largely the issue of the dogs getting out has been resolved. Just in speaking with her over the history of this house and this yard, they not had a lot of incidents of that. There were some fence changes they had to make when one of the dogs was a puppy because it was doing under the fence. but in general, she's diligent at making sure the dogs stay in the yard. But we understand and read the victim's impact statement. I read it to Miss Arnold this morning when we were in the breakout room. Understand that they are large dogs, and that this was very concerning to her neighbor, as she expresses. But going forward, they've got new collars. Miss Arnold is hopeful, optimistic. She's got some medical appointments coming up here in the spring that she may become more mobile, and that would also help the situation. Thank you, Your Honor. And I would ask the court to take into consideration, because I don't know if it's anywhere, she has a pretty limited income. She basically lives off Social Security disability.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Arnold, is there anything else you'd like me to know before I impose sentence?
Well, I couldn't quite make out what he was saying. What happened was I had to have the odd job guys out to clean up the property to try to get a reverse mortgage to keep the house. They'd been here before, and they'd opened and closed the gate on the porch. When they were here that day, it was just exhausting for me. Even just walking out 20 feet, sitting in the garage talking about the weed eater. And by the time they left, I literally passed out at the table. I just couldn't stay awake. Woke up, realized that dogs hadn't been out. Got to the door, let them out. Leaned on the door frame. I can't see the gate from the door. They had their fence, which we had modified when we figured out the young'uns could actually clear part of it due to landscaping changes. And that was several years ago. They also had the PetSafe wireless system where you set a radius. It's not in-ground, it's a radius fence. I didn't realize they were out till the neighbor came back, opened the door, and sent them in. They came bouncing back with her. They know her. I couldn't figure out why the collars hadn't stopped them. And I checked. The battery light showed they were working, but I thought maybe the batteries had just were so weak that they couldn't send a signal. So I replaced the batteries. It was about a month later. I'd gone outside. I wanted to see something, and I'd taken the male with me to help me. I overdid it, and I collapsed in the driveway. He was frantic, running around, circling, barking at me, trying to get me to my feet. And I realized he was outside the radius of the fence. So then I removed the collars a week or so later, checked them. Well, the light said they were working. They weren't transmitting. They weren't beeping or reacting when it went outside the radius. I was finally able a month later to get new collars. They're not cheap. They're $165 a collar. So now their collars are working. I haven't been told by when I buy batteries, I haven't yet hit the out of stock, so I've got a supply here. I kept running into out of stock last winter with them from the store. So they really don't. In the 20 years we've been up here, this is the first time I've had them escape without my seeing them do it and knowing why, like a section of fence was damaged, or that has let them get out once when the fence turned out to be damaged, and they went over to guard my neighbor's chickens. They love the chickens, but otherwise they don't get out. I'm extremely protective of them. They're all highly experienced show dogs, championships, obedience titles. 2 of them are working service dogs. I wouldn't take a risk with them getting loose. I was horrified they got out. And it shouldn't happen again now that we know that their collars failed. So I'm not sure how you test the collars, even though if the collar says it's working, there's no way to test it to see if it really is working. Also, they're getting older.
Okay, can you, what is the breed? I wasn't familiar with the name I saw in the report. What's the
name?
breed of Ms. Arnold?
Kusav, K-U-V-A-S-C. The breed's 7,000 years old. They're the ancestors of Great Pyrenees. They are a livestock guarding dog, okay? They watch the entire neighborhood. They keep the coyotes away, which is why the free-range chickens are all perfectly safe next door. The other day, my neighbor, sitting in the house, and the neighbor to my right, facing my house, neighbor to the left, He's elderly. He does a walk up and down the driveway. The dogs used to bark when he goes out, and I look, and I'm like, okay, thank you. The other day, they went nuts a few minutes later, and I realized he was down in the driveway, like on one knee. And they alerted, and I looked, and they were very upset he was down. I couldn't decide if he went down to pick something up or tie a shoe or had fallen, but he got up and got back in the house, so it was fine. My late part, Kusav, he died in 2017, was AKC National Service Dog of the Year. He was on ABC and international events where he received the award. And I ran into a young man in Empire. We're miles south down the beach. He was schizophrenic off his meds. Everybody had trouble with him. And when he came at me with my fist raised, this national award-winning dog went to the air, hit him chest level, knocked him flat, jumped back, crouched between us, and went into the whole white wolf back off and get away from her. They eventually got him. He ran him back to town. They got him back on his meds a few weeks later. But they're a different type of dog. They're totally focused on their charge and taking care of them, and they're very conscious of their world around here. They disapprove of coyotes, foxes, raccoons, skunks, otters, loose dogs.
I'm going to stop there. I appreciate you informing a little bit more about the breed. I appreciate that. So, Mr. Travis, I did have a question about licensing. I know that the officers talked to Ms. Arnold about whether the dogs were licensed, and she said that she was going to have trouble being able to afford to have them licensed. I think licensing is important because if they get loose, and something like this were to happen again, that's important for animal control to know they've been properly vaccinated and can track them down and all that.
Yes, Your Honor. We've another issue is Ms. Arnold's mobility, but I've talked to her about that, and just the way the forms have to work. She's been in discussions with the clerk, and I think that's all either taken care of or going to be taken care of. They made some exceptions to how she can send in the forms and the money. So
it's very simple. I can't walk in a post office to mail anything. And we can't figure out how to get money to them and forms at the same time.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Arnold.
She's been in discussions with the clerk to take care of those issues. And they have accommodations with her to make that happen. And I think one or two of them, actually, it's just a matter of properly getting the form in because they're service dogs that the fee doesn't apply. But some of the dogs, the fee applies. She's also not doing terribly financially well, but I think at the time this happened, she was like flat broke. That's not the case anymore. She can afford to pay the fees because it's only about $14 for the one dog.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I did get the reverse mortgage through, and I had enough to do the repairs to the house, and I have a little money left.
Good to hear that. So, Mr. Chamberlain, anything for the people?
No, thank you.
And you're just looking for fines and costs?
I don't think probation's helpful in this case. There's no rehabilitative purpose really. And I don't think jail's appropriate either in this.
Okay, so this is sentencing on a dog bite case. The defendant was actually charged with several counts of dog loose. And what happened is some workmen were over at Ms. Arnold's home, left the back deck gate open, and at least 3 of the dogs got loose, went to a neighbor's yard. It was very frightening for the neighbor and her mother, and probably because of the size of the dogs, and they were also acting territorial as the way the victim described it, and it's made her uneasy. Apparently she's carrying bear spray these days when she goes for a walk, and one of the dogs, she doesn't know which one, also bit her on the buttocks. There were bruises only, no punctured skin or anything like that. And again, one of the dogs hit her when she went to the defendant's home. That was on the thigh area, but apparently no injury. And so it was a very concerning incident for the victim in this case. But I do accept what Mr. Arnold is saying, that the last thing she wants to do is see her very prized dogs, two of which she considers to be service dogs, to get loose from her property. I had thought about perhaps a 1 year of probation to assure that the dogs don't get loose, but I think that Ms. Arnold is going to do everything she humanly can to make sure that the dogs don't get loose. And so I agree with Mr. Chamberlain that probation would not be appropriate. The defendant is also working to get the dogs licensed, and that is a financial problem. And but nevertheless, she's certain that that's going to happen, and she's working with the clerk's office to make sure that that happens. So I will go along with the prosecutor's recommendation, which is for fines and costs only. There is a $50 fine, $50 cost, $75 crime victim, $50 judicial system fee. I'll waive the court-appointed attorney fee, and that is significantly less than the court would impose otherwise. So you'll need to contact our court clerk to take care of the fines and costs, and let's see, if there's nothing else, we're all set for this morning.
One question, is your court set up for electronic payments?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
There was no county clerk, they couldn't take.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Arnold. You're free to sign out at this time, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, bye.
Ma'am, can you tell me your name there at the Otsego County Jail, please? I cannot hear you. On a second.
Your Honor, that appears to be Chelsea Brink.
Okay, I can you guys, I think I can hear you guys now. Yeah.
Okay, great.
All right, I'm sorry, Ms. Brink, you look different today than you did yesterday, so
I haven't done anything different except put deodorant on.
your hair looks different to me for some reason. Okay.
Does it?
All right, Ms. Brink, yeah, you're before the court here today for arraignment on charge of misdemeanor assault and battery. That charge alleges that you did make an assault or an assault and battery upon. That is a misdemeanor that carries with it maximum possible penalty of up to 93 days and or a $500 fine. Do you understand why you're before the court today?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Brown, have you had an opportunity? First of all, I guess I need to go on the record. I'm sorry. This is Otsego County case 25-43389-SM-3, People versus Chelsea Brink. Mr. Brown is here for purposes of arraignment today, and we have Mr. Fortier from Otsego County Prosecutor's Office. Mr. Brown, have you had an opportunity to speak with Ms. Brink today?
Yes, I have, Your Honor. I did screen her as well. She would qualify, and that information has been sent to Mr. Gila's office for an appointment.
Okay. And then how does Ms. Brink want to plead to this charge today?
At this time, Your Honor, we will stand mute.
Okay, the court will enter not guilty plea on behalf of Ms. Brink. And in terms of bond pending the next hearing, Mr. Fortier, do the people take any position on that?
Sorry, I was muted there. Judge, we would ask for a $1,000 cash surety or 10% bond. She does have some criminal history, albeit nothing too extensive. And then we also would ask for the court to order there to be no contact between Ms. Brink and the listed victim in the case, which is, I'm not 100% certain as to the living situation at this point. We have his address as being the same as hers. So as part of that no contact order, we would ask that she just not be allowed to be at his residence or his place of employment. And I would leave it to the court if the court wanted to be specific with regards to an address, or just leave it generic to residents only.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Brown?
Your Honor, I am aware that the alleged victim was residing with Ms. Brink. It is her home. It is my understanding that this person was living there for approximately 2 months. Not quite sure if he is living there currently. She is well aware of the no contact order. I would ask the court not to put it as a specific address, rather the alleged victim's residence. If he would vacate the premises, because this is Ms. Brink's home, and if she could bond out, I would ask that she be allowed to return home. If he is still residing there and she can post bond, I would also request a civil standby so that she could perhaps get some personal belongings. She does have a place to stay. She is a local resident here. As the court is aware, she was arraigned just yesterday, or maybe a couple days ago, on an FOC warrant. Bond was set in that matter. It is my understanding, regardless of the bond, she is not going to be able to post it. So I would ask the court to take those things into consideration when setting a bond in this particular matter as well, and also consider the no contact order as far as residence versus a specific address.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm not going to put a specific address. I have no idea what the legal status is of either of them with regard to, where they've been living. So I don't know, they've just been living together. If somebody, I'm not going to speculate on the legal status of who's actually entitled to live at wherever they've been living from a legal standpoint. Given the nature of the charges, I do think no contact order is in place, or should be in place. So the court is going to order that Ms. Brink not have any direct or indirect contact, or be within 50 feet of him, his residence or place of employment. And the court will allow, to the extent that he's entitled to remain at the residence where he's at, will allow Ms. Brink to go there one time with law enforcement to remove any personal belongings she needs until this matter is resolved. And I will indicate that on the bond form. I will also set bond in the amount of $1,000, 10%. I think that's an adequate bond to ensure her appearance and to ensure that she will comply with the conditions of the bond. Ms. Brink, yes, what is it that you would like to say?
I just have a question as far as serving him with eviction papers. I'm going to have contact with him in order to serve those papers and get him out of my house. So how should I go about that? I don't have any money in order to serve it via the law.
That is a question that you're going to want to ask Mr. Brown or whoever your court-appointed attorney is. They'll be able to answer that question for you. That would require me to give you legal advice, and I can't ethically give you advice about how to proceed with a eviction action.
I would state,
I didn't. Go ahead.
Your Honor, I would state that I don't believe in no contact. If there is an eviction proceeding and the two have to appear together, I would assume the no contact order would affect a court proceeding.
Yeah, again, I'm not going to give an opinion on that. The bond says what it says, and she'll have to proceed based on the advice of counsel with regard to her any kind of eviction proceedings.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Brink, the next hearing that you'll have in this case is going to be on January 15th of 2025 at 9 a.m. So as soon as you're notified of who your court-appointed attorney is, you're going to want to make sure that you contact them so that you're ready to proceed on that date. And that's all I have for this case. So we're ready for whoever our next arraignment is. Thank you.
Thank you.